Well, and here we have our very own Stephen Hammit. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, John, how are you?
Great. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you as well.
Awesome. So it's good to have you back here. And let's just talk about what were some of the biggest lessons that you learned this year and how did it go for you?
Wow, what a year, right? This year was, and it seems like every year we have this conversation where we learn so much and we take so much from it. But this year was really the market throwing everything it could at you in so many different ways. We started the year out with the humdrum low volatility grinding up markets, and you kind of find yourself getting a little complacent with your trading and what the market's doing, and you just expect the same thing over and over again. So this year really forced me, as I assumed other traders, to really kind of step back and think about their trading in a really different way. And the market has a way of doing that, right? Forcing you to do it. And for me, there was a number of things that were my biggest lessons. And I'd say, the two biggest ones was really my TA. I've always had good confidence in my TA, but it's always been more from a higher level on a weekly and a daily basis. And I can't really say that it ever really came into play with the trade plan, because the trades I was doing a little more, or they were a lot more higher DTE, more days in the trade. And I really shifted my trading to much shorter. Actually, it's 9-day trades, 16-day trades, and that kind of time frame. And so that forced me to really dial in my TA skills, not only on a daily basis, but down to an hourly basis. And what it also made me do was simplify my TA, get rid of, the stories you like to tell yourself. Well, here's support and resistance, but what if it does this, and what if it does that? Just what are the levels, and you go with it. So in a sense, when I narrowed down my time frame, it also forced me to simplify my TA, not complicate it, which I think we tend to do as traders. So that was number one. And number two was this, since I'm trading much shorter DTE, and obviously the reason behind that is generally speaking, butterflies and are just much cheaper, and there's a lot more opportunity with the shorter dated stuff, which I found it right now, and it will certainly change. But for 2020, but part of that trade-off was you had to trade into expiration. And, before I was trading the rock, and, I don't know, maybe a little less than half the time you would take the trade in expiration, and it was certainly a white knuckle experience, or so it seemed. So, but with this trade, I was always in expiration. So from a mental standpoint, I really got used to that. There's not any angst. I felt I developed that skill, that ability, and that confidence to deal with the trade in expiration, because, I put the trade on, say, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week before expiration. Well, that, Monday, you're only in the trade 3 days, trading days wise, and you're in expiration week. And that no longer was a mental challenge. So that was a big leap for me to feel very comfortable that I could deal with the trade. Now, did I get blown out to the upside and the downside sometimes? Sure. Did I not necessarily have the plan that I wanted in place when that happened? Sure. But it is now. That's part of the learning. So that was huge, to be able to feel comfortable taking things into expiration. And along with that, the other big learning was, for me, I needed just my trading overall with the options. I needed more at bats, more trade reps. So some traders may be comfortable with, taking one trade a month. That's 12 a year, and maybe it overlaps. So it's 12 trades a year. Or, even if you're kind of doing an M21 style, maybe you have a few more trades a year, but generally you're not going to have a whole lot. But for this, and in this environment, obviously it lends itself to that ability. And that was really nice, because it really helped to take the focus off of the outcome. Because let's say you took a loss maybe it was a 2 times max loss. You're like, that's fine. Tomorrow I'm entering another trade. And by next week, I'll have this one will be under my belt too. So it was comforting in a sense to know you were just right back in the game and you didn't have to sit for a month with this loss or working through a drawdown, which you have to have that fortitude to do anyway. And when the markets go back to, let's call it a 2017 environment or 2013, where it's just, 9 VIX and slow, you're not going to be doing these probably shorter term stuff, although you could argue you could do 10-day rocks. I mean, so, it is possible to do, but just this idea of having more at bats, more trade opportunities through the year was huge for me. And it's something I find very attractive. And if I can continue that in different environments, that would be great, but I certainly will adapt to whatever I have to. But those are the biggest takeaways I had, or biggest learnings for this year.
Yeah, those are great insights, and I think that's why it's important to understand. We have our longer term strategies when we do the programs, and we always bring them into expiration on options trading for income guidelines, unless we hit our profit targets. I think there's good learnings and good practice in that, and a good reason why people, maybe should do that rather than try to avoid it all the time.
Yeah, and even so, that's a good point. Let's say that your trade plan says, I'm going to be out at 10 DTE just because I don't want to deal with the gamma or, the challenges that come with that. But paper trade the rest of that trade. Let's say you exit it at 21 days or 10 days. Go ahead and paper trade that trade and at least get some kind of experience. And even you could even do it live, right? Paper trade the rest of the trade, the balance of the trade live, and get that experience so that you have that confidence. But, for me, it was definitely a little bit of getting thrown into the fire, just kind of forced myself to do it. And it was nerve wracking at first. You're like, oh man, this expiration week, this thing could gap 70 points either way. And it did.
Yeah, and the market was moving like bigger than it ever moved. Yeah, it did.
But it also really drives home the point that trade-offs, right? With that high gamma and with that high theta and with that risk of a giant move against came fantastic rewards. There were a lot of times I was breaking.
If you just hit a 2-day period where you didn't get much market movement, you're just boom.
There were some days. Yeah. I would break even in the morning and hit profit target at the end of the day.
Right.
I mean, it just was that fast.
That's the power.
The power of it. So recognizing those trade-offs and, being responsible, understanding that if you get an ATR move or if you're at support or at resistance, you're about to break out, you probably want to do something with the trade beforehand. So, those are key things. And so that is really, I've traded all your strategies, obviously. And so it's, all the way from the 77 DTE X4 series, which you got all kinds of great aspects to it, down to what I'm doing now, which is taking things into expiration. And so if you put that on a time continuum, from an expiration all the way to 17 DTE, it's kind of like, I feel pretty confident I could say I've covered the wheel of everything that I could trade. So no matter what the market brings down the road, I should be able to handle that. At least I have the confidence. And if I don't, and if it is something a little different, which the market's always going to throw some curveballs at us, I can figure it out. Because that was another big component of this year. I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do or how to take advantage of cheaper butterflies, higher implied volatility. Does that mean I trade the same thing and just ride that or can I, is there more opportunity I could take advantage of, which is what I found. And so really kind of figuring it out and taking your lumps in that process was really built confidence, not being spooked out of it and saying, man, I got smoked on that trade. I don't want to do expiration trades.
Great thing that you talk about. How do you gain confidence? People say that I'm not confident. How do you gain confidence? Well, you go in there and you do it. That's how you gain confidence.
Yeah, right? and just and stand your ground. And it's really easy to say, well, I'm 70% profit target and I could take it now. Should I? Because every single day is huge in these trades because of the gamma. And you gotta be able to really stand there, because as you've always said in the past, you're going to take these large losses, so you need some outside wins to offset those. You can't continually take profits underneath your profit target just because,
Right.
I got a nice little winner. Let's say your profit target's 5,000 and you're at 3,000. You're like, I just want to take that. Well, what happens when you take the $10,000 loss or the $8,000 loss? You're going to need those $5,000, $6,000 winners to offset that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are you going to do next year to improve your trading? You have a plan?
Oh, wow. Next year.
I'd imagine you got quite an improvement this year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And just to build on kind of what we were saying, I expect things to change. I mean, I think we always have to have that expectation with the market is either going to revert back to some quote unquote normal state, something that maybe we have seen or haven't seen. So really preparing for change.
Right. Like, rather than the common approach, right, which is find a set of rules and hope the market doesn't change in the future.
Well said. And to kind of stitch this back together in my earlier comments, that's kind of probably where I was at in January and February before the COVID crash, and kind of unknowingly, right? You get complacent. You're like, well, this is trading the rock in a very traditional manner. Or, well, I mean, I had some variations to it, but more or less traditionally. And you kind of get complacent. You get lulled to sleep with it. It's working. It's great. And you're not really thinking about, well, what if the market does this, or what if we start getting rising market, or we have a crash, or
what if the market moves more than it's ever moved before?
Yeah, right. In both ways, right? And what if you could buy 30-day butterflies for $3, which I did, by the way.
Which I couldn't. I mean, if you told me that like a year ago, you're going to be buying butterflies next year for $3, I'd be like, no way.
You're like, go put the straitjacket on. You're crazy. So, but it did. So, and right now I'm actually preparing for some kind of reversion back to what the market was doing and what that looks like. Can I continue to do, the high number at bats, so to speak, high reps, more trades? This is what I'm trying to say. Or am I going to have to go back to, one trade a month? I don't know. I'm investigating that, and I'm setting parameters for that based on different criteria. Butterfly price. If butterfly prices get back to $20, then I'm probably not going to be putting on 10-day trades. Or if I am, I'm going to have to, putting certain restrictions on that. So
right.
I'm looking.
Or maybe have some different kind of configuration or something.
Yeah, or different configuration, exactly. So while I'm continuing to improve on what I'm doing now, I'm also trying to look ahead to say, if the market changes, what do I think that's going to look like? And then how will my trading change and adapt to that?
Nice.
So that's definitely what is on, I'm actually working on that right now. To say, what am I
thinking of adaptation, right? That gives you a sense of confidence in itself, knowing that you can adapt.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, going into 2020, we were a year ago right now, it was more about, I'm trading the rock. I want to get better at that and really refine that and explore how I can make that better, which is great. But I wasn't thinking in terms of, a two-pronged approach. Is you always need to be thinking about how I can improve what I'm doing now, but also what if things change? What am I going to do? And so that's
right. Well, I remember years ago we were at a seminar and I told you whatever you're doing right now is going to fail.
Yeah. People didn't like that. I don't think I liked it.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think I liked it. Yeah.
But this is why, right? Things are going to change. There are going to be periods of time.
And I think your comment earlier was really hit the nail on the head. Is we keep wanting to, it's human nature to want to find something that works and just stick with it, and then hope and pray the market doesn't change. And it's like, come on, guys, and gals, that's just, if we've learned anything this year, and really we've learned it for the last 3 years, right? 2018, when we had massive transition. 2019 had lots of transition. This one has been, we had a crash, and then, I don't know, this run up is unprecedented. I think some of the indexes, the RUD and the NDX are up are they up 100%, over 100%?
I think the Russell's up over 100. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember where I bought IWM at, but it was.
Yeah, I think you got it down by the lows. But here, let's put that in context real quick. Traditionally, if the market, however you define that, you know, the SPY, the NASDAQ, any market index, if you have a 10% year, that's a good year.
Yeah.
We have been up 100% in those indexes since just March. That's not even a year. That is unbelievable.
That's insane. Yeah. If you got in there at the right time. Yep.
Yeah. On a number of levels, right? You could say, well, you know, what does that exactly mean? Are we overbought? Yeah, sure. But the way I'm really looking at it is to say, with this incredible move up. Now, I will say during the COVID crash, I definitely struggled. I did not find anything trades that worked. It was
really it was like 3 weeks though, you know.
It was, yeah. Right? Was it really even a crash? A 4-week, you know, pretty good dip? I don't know.
Those really
wasn't a bear market.
It's like those really, really big intraday moves you get when you're day trading, you know.
Yeah, like this big liquidation break, and then all of a sudden it goes back up. But what I was going to say was, with all those huge moves, keep in mind, I was trading a 9-day trade.
Yeah.
Like this move in November, just to give people an example of it can be done. The new move in the Russell in November, I think, is a record, isn't it? Or at least in that time frame.
Yeah, it's insane in the time frame.
It's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3 cycle moves, and so that's 4 or 5 trades for me. Have, let's see, 3 profit targets, 1 scratch, and 1 half profit target with that movement.
Right, and that's nice.
So it can be done. You know, you would say, oh, wow. And then things move, I don't know, how much does it move? 200 points, 300 points. I mean, I had some cycles where in the 9 days it moved 100 points and still able to make money. So you know, it can be done, and it's not all that difficult, but you definitely have to put the work in and think about it. So back to what your earlier question, what I'm gonna do for 2021 is how can I, how am I going to adapt to the market as it continually changes and probably reverts back to what it was before, a little lower volatility, probably a lower ATR. Can I continue to do some short-term trading? Because again, I'm cognizant of not getting caught in that. That may not be possible. I'm not going to force myself to do, hey, I really like having lots of reps, 20, 25, 30 trades a year. So I'm just going to do that no matter what. And no, I'm not taking that approach. I'm trying to see, is there something I can do that meets that criteria, but still in a responsible manner and meets my objectives? I feel like right now that can be done.
Or there might be more opportunity elsewhere. I mean, if there's easier money to be made,
there could be. Yeah. I'm not going to, I would say in the past, I might try to force the circle in the square. It's like, well, I really like this XYZ component of my trading. So that has to work. And I'm not taking that approach.
Okay, nice. Now, what's one piece of advice that you would give a struggling trader?
One piece of advice, I'll have to give you more, but I'll definitely give you the number one. The number one.
Number 1, 2, and 3.
Is develop a learning plan for everything. And I'll have to credit our great friend and great trader, Cindy Sarver, for this concept. And I think she presented, this was one of the first successful trader interviews you ever did. Mm-hmm. Develop a learning plan, which is to say, write down a step-by-step roadmap for what you're going to learn and how you're going to learn it and how you're going to digest that material. So let's say you've just got one of John's strategies. That doesn't mean just pop open and start watching all the videos. It's, watch the videos. Maybe you're taking notes through your first view. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's watch all the videos just in one sitting. Then you're going to watch it again and take detailed notes. Then you're going to do back testing. Then you're going to do what if back testing. See how I've outlined some kind of a roadmap of how I'm going to learn. Let's say it's the M34U, how I'm going to learn this material. It's not, I've said this in the past, it's not watch video, live trade. That's not a process. And hey, guilty as charged. There was a time when I did that, right? You say, I'll watch the videos, I'll watch John do the back testing, and boom, I'm live. 10 lot is on. That's not how we approach it. So a struggling trader, develop a learning plan like I talked about. Have it written down. whether it's in OneNote or any of the other journaling softwares, or it's in a spiral notebook. Just write something down. And with that, it's going to have patience and recognize you're going to have some setbacks, and yet you learn the most. The most growth and the most learning is going to come from setbacks.
If you take them properly.
Yes, thank you. If you take them properly and understand that is how we learn. The other piece of advice I would give a struggling trader is get a coach.
Yeah.
Do some one-on-one coaching. And shameless plug, the coaching can come in different forms, right? It can be, I'm stuck on this one area. I'd like to just do one session. Let's get together, whether it's John or me, and let's hammer out that issue. Or it can be a series of sessions where we put together a learning plan, where we put together a list of objectives, where we do assign homework, and we come back and review that and really help you digest that material. So if you're struggling, if you really want to ramp up that learning curve and get through the potholes, because I recommend getting a coach, but it comes down to this: you simply just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And every time you come on and do the Trading with the Pro sessions, I'm learning every single time. And it always comes down to, it's not so much I don't know what I don't know anymore, because I think I've just been around and seen enough, but it's more of, that thought didn't trigger. Now I see what's triggering that thought. And so that's what a coach can help you do, is see those things around the corner, help you identify blind spots, and help you avoid those decision traps. Because those decision traps, which comes with the mental game, we put up these blinders unknowingly, right? We put up these sort of psychological barriers, like, well, the trade's going to work just because my back testing was successful, or maybe it's as simple as that. But you talk yourself in. You've said this before. You see things that you want to see. Like if you're going to buy a white Toyota truck, well, guess what? When you're driving down the road for the next 2 weeks, everything you see is a white Toyota truck. You're going to notice all the white trucks. You're going to notice the things that your mind is gravitating towards. And so that might be, yeah.
I bought a bright red truck, and I thought
bright red one, yeah.
and I thought, I don't think I've ever seen bright red trucks like this around.
Right, I'm going to buy something nobody has.
My neighbor has one.
Yeah, then you start noticing it, and you could talk yourself into a trade. You start to see, things that only are positive. So,
yeah. All right, awesome. That's a great piece of advice and a great presentation. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Yeah, it's been a great year, a lot of learning. And another thing I would try to suggest, and I know you said just one piece of advice, but getting a group of people or one other person as a little team or a trading partner, I think is really helpful. Really, really helpful. And you can find those people in our community through the forums or through Skype, and try to team up with some people who probably trade similar to you. And I think you really can advance yourself a lot quicker when you're working with somebody on trade ideas. And sometimes you can split up work, whether it's back testing, or they can be an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. And then probably above all else, it's idea generation. You get on Skype together and say, hey, do you think about this? Or, hey, what are you doing here? Or what do you think about this adjustment? And I think that's great to have that kind of live day-to-day feedback.
Yeah, trading can be lonely. It's good to have a little bit of support there.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Stephen. We appreciate it. And Happy New Year.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me, and Happy New Year. And best of luck to everybody.
Yeah, trade well, everyone.